Welcome to Messages with Mary. We honor the part of you that knows life has more meaning than what you've been experiencing. And if you're here today, trust that God never places a message in front of you by accident. You didn't arrive here randomly, you were guided. There is a moment in the story of every believer when it feels like the enemy has won, when the battles you've fought seem to have been in vain, when the promises you've clung to feel like empty words, and when the circumstances around you scream that defeat is inevitable. If you've ever stood in that place where the enemy's voice is louder than God's, where the evidence of your eyes contradicts the promises in your heart, and where it feels like every door has slammed shut, 2 Samuel 17 verse 12 is your divine reassurance that God is not finished. This verse is not just a historical account, it's a prophetic picture of what happens when the enemy thinks he's won, only to discover that God has been setting a trap all along. The context of this verse is dramatic. Absalom, David's own son, has betrayed him and is pursuing him with an army, intent on destroying him and taking the throne. The situation looks hopeless. David's advisors are divided. His army is outnumbered, and his future seems bleak. But in the midst of this chaos, God is working behind the scenes. Absalom's counselor, Ahithophel, gives strategic advice that seems foolproof, advice that should seal David's fate. But God intervenes. He turns the counsel of Ahithophel into foolishness and uses Hushai, David's loyal friend, to deceive Absalom and buy David time. What looks like certain defeat becomes the stage for God's deliverance. This is the pattern of God's strategy in the life of every believer. The enemy may plot, he may scheme, he may even convince you that the battle is lost, but God is always one step ahead. The enemy's greatest confidence is the moment before his greatest defeat. He thinks he's won when you're backed into a corner. He celebrates when you're outnumbered. He rejoices when you're overwhelmed. But what he doesn't realize is that God uses the very things meant to destroy you to set the stage for your deliverance. You may be in a season where the enemy's lies feel like truth, where the attacks against you seem unstoppable, and where the circumstances of your life appear to confirm that you've been defeated. You may have prayed, fasted, believed, and still seen no change. You may have stood on God's promises, only to watch as the enemy advanced. And in those moments, it's easy to doubt, to fear, to wonder if God has abandoned you. But here's what 2 Samuel 17 verse 12 is declaring over your life. The enemy's confidence is his downfall. What he thinks is his victory is actually the moment God turns the tables. The enemy's greatest weapon is deception. He wants you to believe the battle is over before it's even begun. He wants you to see only the army marching against you and forget the God who is marching for you. He wants you to focus on the storm and miss the strategy God is unfolding behind the scenes. But here's the truth. God is not surprised by your circumstances. He is not caught off guard by the enemy's attacks. He is not wringing his hands in heaven, wondering how to save you. He is orchestrating your deliverance in ways you cannot yet see. Think about David's situation. By all human standards, he should have been destroyed. His own son had turned against him. His advisors were conflicted. His army was outmatched. And yet, God used the enemy's own counsel to defeat him. The very strategy that was meant to destroy David became the tool of his deliverance. That's how God works. He takes what the enemy means for evil and turns it for good, Genesis 50 verse 20. He uses the enemy's confidence to trap him in his own schemes. He lets the enemy think he's winning, right up until the moment God pulls the rug out from under him. But how do you hold on when it feels like the enemy is winning? How do you keep believing when the evidence says you're defeated? You do what David did. You trust God's strategy even when you can't see it. You remember his faithfulness in the past. You cling to his promises for the future. And you refuse to let the enemy's lies become your reality. David didn't panic when he heard Absalom's army was coming. He didn't give up when Ahithophel's counsel seemed foolproof. He prayed, he positioned himself, and he trusted God to do what only God could do. And that's what you must do too. Pray like your deliverance depends on God, because it does. Position yourself in faith, even when you can't see the way out. And trust that God is working behind the scenes, turning the enemy's confidence into his defeat. You may be thinking, but what if God doesn't come through? And that's the lie the enemy wants you to believe. He wants you to doubt God's faithfulness, to fear the future, to give up before the miracle. But here's the truth: God has never failed you, and He's not about to start now. The same God who delivered David is the same God who is fighting for you. The same God who turned Ahithophel's counsel into foolishness is the same God who is exposing the enemy's schemes in your life. The same God who gave David the victory is the same God who is preparing your triumph. And here's the beautiful irony: the moment the enemy thinks he's won is the moment God strikes. The darkest hour is just before the dawn. The greatest despair is the birthplace of the greatest deliverance. The enemy thinks he's won, but he doesn't realize he's walked right into God's trap. So if you're in a season where it feels like the enemy is advancing, where the battle seems lost, and where the future looks bleak, 2 Samuel 17 verse 12 is your prophetic word. The enemy's confidence is his downfall. What he thinks is his victory is actually the moment God turns the tables. The storm you're in is not the end of your story. It's the setting for your miracle. The corner you're backed into is not your defeat. It's your divine setup. The question is not whether God will deliver you. The question is, will you trust Him while you're waiting? Will you stand firm when the enemy says you're defeated? Will you praise Him in the midst of the battle, knowing that your worship is a weapon that disarms the enemy? Because here's the promise hidden in this verse: what the enemy means for your destruction, God is using for your deliverance. The trap has already been set. The enemy's defeat is already decided. And the victory you're praying for is closer than you think. So stand firm. Keep praying. Keep believing. Keep worshiping. Because the enemy's celebration is about to turn into his downfall. And the battle you thought you lost is about to become the testimony of God's faithfulness in your life. Your deliverance is coming, and it's going to be more glorious than you ever imagined. If this message resonated with you, it's no accident. The enemy's confidence is his downfall. Like this video, subscribe to Messages with Mary, and share it with someone who needs to hear this today.